Hey folks, my name's Ed Trevors. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm an Anglican priest serving in the beautiful parish of St. Margaret of Scotland that sits on the ancestral and on the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And tonight, I'm calling out a false prophet. Gway. Guy's name's Shane Vaughan. Shane Vaughan, I think I might have talked about him before, long time ago. Fella from the States. One of Trump's biggest fans. Continuously talking about how God is prophesizing that Donald Trump is going to do this and Donald Trump is going to do that. Donald Trump will be the first man to land on the moon. Donald Trump will be the first one to swim the Atlantic Ocean. Donald Trump will be whatever. Continuously launches these prophecies. They don't come true. But he has that way about him. He's able to say, well, you know, that stuff is true. You just can't see it. I see it. I see it because of where I am, but you don't see it because you're not spiritually in tune like I am. One of those fellas that might say something silly like, Donald Trump is actually the president in heaven. And Donald Trump is the president. And this is just some sort, anyway. But he's going to have to eat some words. A week ago, when Jim Jordan accepted the nominee from the Republican conference in the House of Representatives to run to be Speaker of the House. Well, he said something silly. He said, Professor Toto. That, by the way, that's his alias. He doesn't always go by his real name. He goes by his alias sometimes. Professor Toto, many times, can see the news behind the news, and this was Yahweh's plan from the beginning. Jim Jordan is preparing to step in as leader and Speaker of the House of Representatives. Kevin McCarthy got in the way, but Donald Trump cleared the way. Jim Jordan is a proxy for Donald Trump. So for him, Donald Trump was going to be Speaker of the House through Jim Jordan, because he obviously doesn't think anything of Jim Jordan and believes that Donald Trump would just make him do whatever he wants. He might be onto something there, but we won't get into it. Jim Jordan, Professor Toto, Shane Vaughan, says will be the next Speaker of the House, just as Professor Toto told you so. He adds some singing. He's got a lovely singing voice. I don't have that kind of a singing voice, so I'm not going to try it, but he does some singing. So it's kind of like this musical. By the way, thank you to Right Wing Watch for sharing this with us this afternoon and ruining my day. You know, Deuteronomy tells us what we're supposed to do with a false prophet, and I'm not advocating for that at all. At all. The idea was to silence them. That a person who is deemed to be a false prophet, which is someone who speaks something in the name of God that God has not commanded, or a prophet who speaks in the name of other gods, they're to be silenced. That's it. They don't get heard from again. They're to be silenced. He goes on in Deuteronomy chapter 18. The author goes on to say that God, the question goes from supposedly Moses to God, how can we know that when a message has been spoken by the Lord? The Lord responds, if what a prophet proclaims in the name of the Lord does not take place or come true, that message was not spoken by the Lord, i.e., they are a false prophet. The prophet has spoken presumptuously. So don't worry about them. Don't be alarmed by them. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that bothers me about this. I did a little research this evening, and I was looking up Shane Vaughan. I was trying to figure out how many people are watching him. How many people are hearing him when he offers these prophecies? How many people are hearing him when he makes these ridiculously bold claims? It ain't that many. As a matter of fact, after a few days of this video being out, my guess is more of you will have heard about him than more of you will watch this video than the stuff that he does. He's getting 200-300 hits. Some of his videos, his YouTube channel's barely followed at all. He's got very few people. On Twitter, he's got about the same number of people following on Twitter as I do, which isn't that many. He's just not. He's not widely being watched. And I'm not saying this because I've got more people listening to me than he does. No, I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm describing to you why he and people like him bother me so much. Because when I Googled his name, and I can see that his latest video got, say, 200 people to watch it on YouTube. But when the media picks up his ridiculous claims, 150,000 people read about it on Newsweek. 20,000 people see it on this media outlet. 30,000 people see it on that one. 100,000 people see it on another one. He isn't widely followed. He isn't widely followed by believers, but he is notorious among left-leaning media outlets because of this kind of nonsense that he says. This is exactly, for what it's worth, this is exactly why false prophets are supposed to be silenced. It's why we're not supposed to listen to them. It's why we're not supposed to tolerate them. It isn't just because they may lead believers astray, though that's definitely a part of it, but that's not all of it. It's also because when they say things in God's name, when they say things like, this was Yahweh's plan from the beginning, you need to trust me because I am speaking what the Lord speaks to me. I am speaking from what God shows me through that gift that he gave me, that I can see the news behind the news. When they say these kinds of things and it's proven to be false or proven to be so far-fetched that it can't possibly be true, or what it ends up doing, it ends up skewing the minds of people who aren't believers. It ends up harming the witness of the people in this world who truly are trying to deliver the message that God is offering to the people. I mean, if 300,000 people read about this Professor Toto, and they read about the idiotic things that he's saying, and they read that what he is prophesizing doesn't happen, that he actually doesn't have a way of connecting to God, what then do they think about the rest of us who are trying to share the love of Jesus Christ in this world? What do they think about the gospel? Why would they believe anything? Why would they believe anyone who comes forward and says, this is what God says? They wouldn't. They'd be fools. They'd be a bigger fool than people like this, who can't stop their lips from flapping and saying silly, false things like this. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. I pray that when the false prophets speak, I pray your discerning hearts will hear them. I pray you will never be led astray from the unconditional love, from the grace that is bestowed to the people of this world through Jesus Christ. I pray you will hold to one another when you need comfort, and you will run as far away from people like this as you possibly can. Amen. Nemultus.